You ever wanted to solve the ultimate detective story? I'm talking about the one where the mystery is, well, us. Where did we come from? The clues are all out there, buried in millions of years of rock and time. Today, we're going to piece that story together, the story of you and me.
So, every good investigation starts by comparing the evidence. On the left, we've got a clue from over 3 million years ago. And on the right, that's one of us. So the big question, the mystery we're trying to solve, is pretty obvious. How in the world did we get from that to this? All right, here is our game plan for today. First, we're going to figure out where we fit in the primate family tree. Then, we'll look at the first giant leap, literally, the moment our ancestors started walking tall. After that, we'll track the rise of our very own genus, Homo. We'll follow our species as we went global, out of Africa. And finally, we'll get into the really cool part, how evolution doesn't always move slow and steady, but can happen in these incredible bursts. Okay, let's dive right in. Every good detective story starts by looking at the family. And for us, that means our big extended family, the great apes. This chart is basically our family album. It shows, without a doubt, that we're great apes. If you trace the lines back, you can see we share a common ancestor with gorillas, and an even more recent one with chimpanzees and bonobos. But the key moment for our story is right here, this split, about 6 to 7 million years ago. That's when the branch leading to us, the hominins, broke off and started its own incredible journey.
So, you're going to hear me use this word a lot, hominin. What does it actually mean? Well, it's just the official term for the group that includes us, Homo sapiens, and all of our extinct relatives after we split off from the chimpanzee line. Think of them as all the main characters in our evolutionary story.
All right, let's get to the first major breakthrough, the first game changer for our lineage, getting up on 2 feet. This was an absolutely revolutionary adaptation, and the proof we have for it, well, it's just mind-blowing. So, meet Lucy. She is, without a doubt, one of the most famous fossils ever found. She's a species called Australopithecus afarensis. And just by looking at her skull, you can see she still had a very ape-like face and a pretty small brain. But her skeleton? Her skeleton tells a whole different story. It shows she was trying out a radical new way of getting around. And then there's this. This is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence I think I've ever seen. These aren't bones. They are actual footprints, left behind in wet volcanic ash 3.5 million years ago. This is a literal snapshot, a moment in time frozen in rock. Okay, I want you to pause for a second and put on your paleoanthropologist hat. Really look at these footprints. What can they tell you? What can you deduce about the way these individuals moved? How is it different from, say, a chimpanzee? The answer is one of the most important words in all of human evolution, bipedalism. Walking upright on 2 legs. This wasn't just a slight change. This was the foundational adaptation. It's the one that set the stage for everything that was to come. Now, walking upright had this one huge unintended consequence. It freed the hands. And that simple fact kicked off the next great leap in our evolution, the emergence of our very own genus, Homo. This timeline lays out all the major players. We start with Homo habilis, the handyman, because they were the first ones we know of who consistently made and used simple stone tools. Then came Homo erectus, a real game changer who had more advanced tools, learned to control fire, and was the first to venture out of Africa. Much, much later, you get the Neanderthals in Europe and Asia with their super sophisticated tools. And finally, about 300,000 years ago, our own species, Homo sapiens, shows up in Africa with our crazy capacity for complex culture. And you can see the 2 biggest trends so clearly right here in the skulls. Think about it. Once you start using tools to cut up your food and fire to cook it, you don't need these massive jaws and teeth anymore, right? So they start to shrink. And at the same time, that change in skull shape allowed the brain case to expand. A lot. So let's talk about the hand, because this is where the magic really happens. Our fully opposable thumb gave us 2 kinds of grips, a power grip for holding onto something tight, but also a delicate precision grip. And that's the one that lets you carefully shape a stone into a tool. Bipedalism freed the hands, and this new anatomy let those hands change the world. And here is exactly what those hands could do. You can literally see thought becoming reality, carved in stone. You go from the simple but really effective hand axes of Homo erectus to the more specialized, more complex scrapers and points of the Neanderthals. You're watching minds get sharper and hands get more skillful right before your eyes. Okay,
So, with bigger brains, better tools, and this amazing ability to cooperate, our species, Homo sapiens, was finally ready to leave home and take on the world. This is the big one, the out of Africa migration. Now, other hominins had left Africa before, but this was the journey that really counted for us. Starting about 60,000 years ago, small bands of modern humans began a trek that would, amazingly, lead them to every single corner of the globe, adapting and innovating every step of the way. And this epic journey isn't just a line on a map. You can find the proof right there in the dirt. Take these, for example. These incredible 48,000-year-old bone tools were found in the Fahian Lina cave in Sri Lanka. Each one of these artifacts is like a breadcrumb on that ancient trail. By studying finds just like these, archaeologists have pieced together a picture of the Balangota man. That's the name they've given to the early modern humans who lived in Sri Lanka. And their cultural leftovers, the stone tools, the charcoal from their campfires, the piles of shells from their meals, they tell us so much about how they lived and survived. So you might be thinking this whole story was a slow, steady march of progress, right? Just a straight line from Lucy to us. But the evidence? It actually suggests a totally different pattern, something way more dynamic. Scientists have a name for it: punctuated equilibrium. It sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. For a long time, we pictured evolution as this slow, gradual process, but the fossil record doesn't always show that. Instead, it seems like species will stay pretty much the same for long stretches of time, and then those stable periods are punctuated by these short, dramatic bursts of really fast change. And you can see these bursts all through our history. Bam! The jump from Australopithecus to Homo with that explosion in brain size and tool use, that was one. Bam! The emergence of our own species, Homo sapiens, with our totally new cognitive skills, that was another. And even super recently, the agricultural revolution completely changed human society in just a few thousand years, which is just a blink of an eye, geologically speaking.
Okay, so let's recap the big clues from our investigation today. Number 1. Our whole story started in Africa, from primate ancestors. Number 2, the one thing that started it all, the foundational adaptation, was walking on 2 legs, bipedalism. 3, this led to our genus, Homo, which is all about this amazing feedback loop between bigger brains and better tools. And finally, and maybe most importantly, our evolution was not a straight line. It was a dynamic story full of twists, turns, and these amazing bursts of change. In the end, that's the real takeaway here. Human evolution is not a straight line marching towards some perfect endpoint. It's so much more interesting than that. It's a complex, branching story, a detective case that's still being solved. And it's all been shaped by adaptation, migration, and that incredible human spark of innovation.